many tips that I can provide to you, but I chose three things, and I want to focus on those three tips. I think the very first thing is develop a thick skin. I don't know how many of you do understand developing a thick skin. When you have a thick skin, right, you don't care that much about making mistakes. A lot of times we tend to have perfectionism. Okay, unless I have everything correct, everything accurate, I won't say anything. And that's what makes us very reserved, right? And quiet when we need to actually speak up and when we need to really engage what's going on. So here, accuracy is not the key, especially when you try to, develop fluency in English. What is important is the communication. So if you want to really develop your fluency, don't worry so much about making mistakes. Rather, focus on communication. Focus on communication. That will help you to be fluent. Even if you make mistakes, remember, have a thick skin. All right? Don't worry about how people will, think about you because you make these mistakes. And, that kind of worry, that kind of fear, a lot of times gets in the way of you becoming fluent. So accuracy is not the key, especially when you zero in on developing fluency. What is important is communication, right? As long as you can get your points across to the other people, keep talking, keep talking, keep your mouth moving, because that's what's going to help you, okay? But you will get to a point where, you need to be able to focus on accuracy as well. But at this early stage, right, what counts is keep talking and not worrying about making mistakes. Because once you get to develop your fluency, you also enjoy speaking. And as you speak and as you communicate with others, you'll be able to also, make all those mistakes correct, right? You'll get to a point where you can correct all those mistakes along the way. Okay, the second tip I'd like to share with you is this: practice speaking. You need to practice speaking, right? After all, fluency doesn't happen overnight. You need to practice and keep practicing. And one of the things that I adopted early on, and this is something that God gave me, and that is, I don't know how, reading aloud is something that you can do even when you are alone, right? You don't need native speakers. You don't need English-speaking people. What you can do is you can read out loud. But when you do not have a pretty good pronunciation, it's very difficult for you to read aloud correctly. I already mentioned that accuracy is not the key, but if you can, try to find audio versions of books or stories, then you might be able to just read along the native speakers. And even if you don't have audio files, but still, I think you can practice reading aloud. And that's something that I've done many times. And even nowadays, I still read some reading materials out loud in order to focus on what I am reading. And the second thing is, speaking using 5 W's and 1 H, right? And this is what a lot of the journalists, do when they write and also when they speak. So how do you practice speaking? Remember 5 W's and 1 H, right? So that'll be who, why, and when, and where, and what, right? So if you could, follow this 5 W's and 1 H as you try to speak by yourself, I'm sure that you'll be able to speak more. And then you can also copying down English sentences written by native speakers, right? So you find the text and then you try to copy it down. And as you copy it down, you'll be able to see how a sentence is structured and what kind of words, vocabulary words, and idioms and phrases were used. And you can actually use them for your own sake, right? So choose any text that interests you, anything that is related to what you are studying, anything that is fun to read, because you don't want to choose a text that is very boring, right? So choose something that will interest you, something that would that you would enjoy reading. And then actually, if I add one more thing to this, that would be praying in English. Praying in English. I don't know how many of you have practiced or tried to pray in English. And that is something that I actually alluded to earlier. When I was really into improving my English, God gave me an inspiration, and that is to pray in English. Nobody told me about to pray in English, but it was something that came from God. It was a God-given idea. So when I was in college, so like first year in university, I began to pray in English. The first time I did, it was very awkward, right? It was very weird experience. But the more I did, the better I was able to pray in English. Now, I don't have any qualms, any hesitation, any reservation at all when it comes to praying in English. I actually enjoy praying in English. I go to early morning prayer meeting every day, Monday through Friday, which starts at 5:30 in the morning. And so when I pray in English. I pray in Korean, I pray also in tongues, but a lot of times I pray in English because that is the language I feel very comfortable in when it comes to praying. Okay, and here's the third and last tip for today, and that is use shadowing. Use shadowing. So here's what needs to happen. Some people tend to think that shadowing is just listen and then follow, but that is not the proper way to do it. You need to have English text first. Have an English text ready, okay? And also, you need to be able to hear how the native speakers say. So, in other words, you need to have audio. So you have English text and you have audio. And then you need to follow the native speakers silently. And that's what it's called shadowing, right? You shadow someone. And as you become more familiar with the text and know how to, say sentences or, specific vocabulary words or phrases, then you need to practice alone until you feel very comfortable with all of the sentences and individual words and phrases. Some people tend to think shadowing is not really going to help you. I believe in shadowing. That's how I have also benefited so much from this practice of shadowing. So as you are trying to, become more fluent, I would definitely try these 3 tips that I shared with you. And in addition to these tips, as I shared last time, consistency is the key, right? No matter how short it is, try to do this at least 10 minutes a day. If you can, 30 minutes and even an hour. As you keep doing, these things, I'm sure that you'll be able to make good progress. As they say, a rolling stone gathers no moss, right? A rolling stone gathers no moss. You need to keep going and keep practicing and keep speaking, and you'll get to a point where you feel like, hey, I feel very comfortable speaking. I don't have any fear. I have no hesitation whatsoever. As a matter of fact, this is something that I enjoy doing. Okay, Peter, that's all I have.